So let's say this is my lovely project that I have made. I want to send it to my teacher so that they can mark it, but I can't send them this file. I can't say, hey, it's in my moving image drive under project files, because this is just a text file that says when the clips start and end. What I need to do is to take this timeline and turn it into a new video file, and that video file is what I will be submitting, or uploading to YouTube, or sending in Google Drive or something like that. So what we do when we do that is called exporting. If I go up to File, down to Export, you get a few different options. Media is the one that you want because you're creating a media. You get the output window. Now, Premiere's got some pretty funny ideas sometimes when it comes to what you're exporting as. You don't want to export as DV, maybe not even as AVI, because you can't be sure that's going to play on whatever computer your friend or teacher or family member has got at the other end. General rule of thumb, if you're submitting work, burn it as H.264. H.264 is the same kind of video that you watch on YouTube or on your phone, on your laptop, on your TV, on Netflix every day. It's made of the same stuff. What that is video that is compressed, looks all right given the amount of compression that's going on, and results in a fairly small file. You've got control over how big physically the resolution of that video file is and how many frames per second that's being displayed at. If we go into this, we've also got under H.264, there's loads of these presets, but there's also loads of presets. You could flick through these and try and find one that works for you, but it's generally easier to just go through the options, because you can't be sure that this mobile device one is going to be good for your use case. I'd say just go with match source, check the video tab. This is where they're set already. I would say that's okay, good resolution, frame rate's fine, aspect is good. And yeah, there's nothing that I need to change there. If I wanted to up the quality, I could move this number up. Notice how our estimated file size has now gone up. That's a bigger, higher quality file. If I wanted to make this a really low quality file, I could change this all the way down to like 5 or something. Let's see what that looks like. 4.8, a 20 meg file. There's probably little discernible difference between this and the 80 meg file. That's just the way that H.264 works. But you can experiment with that. Luckily it doesn't take too long to export these files. So when I'm happy with everything that I've got, I hit export. You've got queue and export. Export will start doing it right away. Queue will open up another application to do the rendering for you while you're doing other stuff. And that's for really busy editors who have got like 5 different things to do. Just hit export and let it do its thing. And you get 10 points if you can work out what I did wrong there. I didn't actually tell it where to put it. Luckily, in this case, it saved it in the V drive somewhere. Main edit, there we go. But just to take you through that, and to actually show you something that's pretty neat with Premiere and After Effects and similar apps. The Adobe apps in general, if they have a dark interface and you can see blue text, you can click on it to change it. And you saw that when I was messing around with, where is it? This here. Rather than using the slider, because there isn't always a slider. Sometimes to save space, they just give you the number. You can just click on the number, move it left and right. You can also just click on it once and punch in a number. Same goes for this output name. This is where you're saving. If I click on that, I can pick a folder. Let's go with exports. And then hit export again. Go over to the folder. You get these temporary files while it's being made. And they might change in size. It's important that you don't move them or rename them or even open them. Just don't bother. Leave them to do their thing. Sometimes with Windows you need to refresh. Not all the time, but sometimes. It turns out that Premiere was pretty accurate saying what size it was going to be. If I double click this, because this is a H.264 MP4 file, it should just open up. So we've got sound coming from our video. You can see macro blocks there. If you look at this distortion, this is how H.264 is cutting some corners to shrink the file down. And this is just the trade-off that you have to make when you're working with video. If this was being submitted for your coursework, you might think, you know what, I don't like how that looks. Let's go back and make a larger file size that is going to have a little bit less distortion. So, export, media. We'll go back down to where we were. So that's 5 megabit per second. Let's whack this all the way up to 20. Hit return. Estimated file size 82 meg. So you would expect that to take a little bit longer to render out. If this is like a 5-minute music video, it could take much longer. But because this was just like 40 seconds of 2 clips, all right, and because I didn't change the name, it's probably overwritten this one. But this is still showing us the old size. I'm going to refresh. There we go. So not far off. Let's have a look at the quality of this. There we go. So it's not perfect, but it's much better than it was. You know, we haven't changed the resolution. The resolution, the physical size of the video, is the exact same as it was in the other video. But the amount of data that's in the video file has changed. It's larger, it's richer, it's got more data in it. So, you know, I'd be all right with submitting that. And if I was marking it, I'd be like, fair enough. On a technical note, things like these quite chaotic visuals, we've got lots and lots of moving bits of grass and a lot of parallax. So if we play this back, there's a lot going on there. And the video codec H.264 does a lot of predictive movement stuff. It does a lot of calculation. If you've ever watched a Netflix show where it's snowing or something like that, you might notice that the visuals drop dramatically. It just turns into a fuzzy mess sometimes. And that's because the predictive movement stuff in the H.264 codec can't quite keep up with unnatural, chaotic movement that snowflakes give, because they're all moving in different directions. And kind of to a degree, that's what's happening with this grass. You know, it's moving side to side, and there's a lot of parallax up and down going on there. So you would expect there to be a little bit of weirdness going on. If you really want it to look ace, then you're going to want to export at full quality. So let's have a quick talk about that. How about DNxHR? So Cineform and DNxHR, these are what's known as an intermediate video format. This is either uncompressed or really lightly compressed. There's a little bit of science to do with how video works on a computer. A H.264 file will be small because the computer has to extract the information. It's got to do some thinking to play the file back. With an intermediate or uncompressed file, it's all there and it's freely available. If we were to put a DNxHR file and a H.264 file on the timeline in Premiere, if it's a really compressed file, then Premiere might skip and lag a bit because it's got to think to untangle all the frames and then display them. With this kind of file, it's all there. You can scrub through it really quickly. And I'll try and show that in a subsequent video. Let's see what it looks like when we have exported. Notice how this one's going to be an MXF file. Check out that, that's good. Export time's not too bad given what it is. Let's wait over in the exports window. See, it's not even finished. It's already massive. You'd typically get these XMP files with an MXF, but they're not really necessary for our use case. I'm sure in the industry they'd be quite useful for people. Let's open up VLC again, because I don't think that Media Player is going to like an MXF file. Here we go, look. So let's look at the transfer again, close. Now it's a bit hard to tell because it's out of focus. It does seem a bit better, but there's still definitely something there. Unfortunately, I can't really zoom in. There's some grain and a bit of distortion, and that is probably there because the camera I shot it with was on the front of a drone, and that is recording to a H.264 format. So right from the off, when the file was created, when the shot was recorded, it was already compressed. So some corners had been cut there. So we, right from the off, sacrificed a little bit of quality. And that's why we can never really exterminate this stuff unless right from the beginning of the project, right from setting up your camera, you're getting all the right options. So anyway, there's our exported file. This one is literally massive compared to the MP4 file. Which, you know what, if that was playing on the screen and you were past it, you just wouldn't notice a difference. Also, this one would take barely any time to upload compared to the other one. Anyway, let's delete all of that and pretend it never happened. Good stuff.